so much. So it's great to be here today and say thank you to them too for what they have done. Whole families came to this place in the hope of a new life, leaving with a new language and certainly making the will to make a contribution. So Scheyville is so important to Australian history, and that's why we gathered here today. And how gratifying it is to see so many people who care and who share that pride. And I have been told that there have been many prominent public figures who passed through, such as the former Premier of Victoria, Joop, and Tim Fisher, who comes from my area of the Riverina, and a great pastoral family down there. Others workers who come here who built the Snowy River or worked in primary production. So the heritage of Scheyville is in these very lovely old buildings, and the main heritage, of course, are the people and the legacy that's been handed on, which I say is certainly part of that beautiful Australian spirit, which will go on contributing to the nation and to the world. So I thank you all most warmly for having me here today, sharing in the celebration, continuing in the legacy of governors who might have been able to, in some small way, contribute. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. I'd like to ask Mrs. Olwen King just to come up and move thanks to the Governor.
We sat in the office. Windsor.
Yeah.
Flooded through to go to for the mail. Our blocks and the blocks where we live.
How many blocks was there?
And 24.
24.
Yes. And inside you could put an egg on the wall, and in 10 minutes it was cooked in the summertime.
It's a very hot place.
Yeah. The shower rooms, the toilets.
Dirty old town, dirty old town.
Duty, and I shall never forget. And I have another memory. Another memory is of a cartoon that was cut out from the Sydney Telegraph and attached to the wall behind the Cadets Bar. It showed a slightly portly army officer with moustache, Sam-bound belt, and oodles of scrambled eggs on his shoulder. Clearly, a general. Two civilian men in hats of the day are nearby, and one is saying to the other, he hasn't done too badly for a national serviceman. The whole concept, and that's why it stuck in my mind, seemed fanciful at the time. But Scheyville's produced some 13 brigadiers and one major general. We're pleased indeed to have that general here today to unveil a plaque commemorating the passing of the last of the five great men, Brigadiers Ian Geddes and Paddy Outridge, who served as Commandant Officer Training Unit Scheyville. Men who led the Scheyville experience. We welcome their families here today. May I call upon Major General Paul Irving to unveil the plaque and recite the ode. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Frank, and just as an aside, I never expected to be here some 39 years, almost to the day that I marched in here on a Sunday afternoon in mid-May 1972, and I certainly never expected to be wearing the uniform that I'm wearing today. But I should also point out it's the only lottery I've ever won, and I'm rather pleased I did. Your Excellency, the Governor of New South Wales, Marie Bashir, distinguished guests.
We had a big, what they call the victory camp in Casino. They brought the Indonesians who were troublemakers there, and they had Dutch officers, And most of those Dutch officers came back and married women in casinos. They had the best soccer team on the north coast.
There was a Dutch soccer team in Sydney here called Sydney Austral.
Yeah.
In the 50s. Did you ever get to play them?
No, never. No. I never played. I was a rifle shooter.
Oh, right.
You know, I never. But as I say, they left their legacy behind with all the young people up there, young fellas, soccer players.
You still live there? Live in that area? Do you still live in that area?
Yes, I lived up there for maybe 30 years of my life.
Is there still a lot of Dutch people there?
Oh, yes. They're quite old now, but as I say, they left their mark there.
Why did you come here today?
Oh, my dad was a dreadnought. You know, the boys that come out from England.
Right. Yeah, one of the Dutch people I know here was asking what this dreadnought was about. You know, so.
Well, dreadnought was a big battleship, you might remember.
Right.
And Australia was going to buy one off the British. They collected all this money, and then they found out that these big battleships were a dead loss. Just one shot and they'd go down. So they put the money in to bring all these young men, boys, 17 and 18 out.
Right.
And they brought them here and they give them a training on how to farm out here. And then there was allotted to farms all over Australia sort of thing. And my dad was allotted to a farm up the north coast at Casino. That's how where the family started. But they bought boys instead of ships.
Oh.
All the men that was killed.
Yeah.
At the War Memorial. What we would now like you to do is to move back into the quadrangle around that way. We will now have a break of about 20 minutes. You're welcome to get a cup of tea. If you haven't registered yet, please go in and register, which will be just on the other side of the foyer out the front. And then we'll reconvene in around 20 to 25 minutes for the dedication of the Centenary.
Somebody first, you see. So I wrote to Penfolds Wines and they said to me, we'll have a look at you when you come, but we don't promise anything. So when I arrived here on Thursday, on Friday I went on the train to Tempe, saw the managing director. I don't know why so high up. Anyhow, his mate was the Dutch ambassador. He said, I got this young fellow here, he got to stay somewhere. I got a boarding house the same day. And then I came here for the weekend. I started at Penfolds on Monday.
Excellent. Did you speak English?
I spoke enough English to get by. Like everybody else, I suppose. You've been to school, but never had any practice.
There's springs of gold on the streets at night. Dirty old town, dirty old town.